Welcome back to Positional Preview Defensemen episode of the DFO Fantasy Show. Let's dive right in with our values, ADPs to avoid, and our breakouts. We will start with the values, a couple guys that we had inside our top 10 but didn't get a chance to talk about. I will go first with my value, and that is Roman Josi of the Nashville Predators. Current ADP is 56.8. Let's just address the elephant in the room right away. Yes, Josi has been diagnosed with POTS. I'm not even going to try to pronounce the actual term. I'm also not going to pretend to be a doctor here at all. But by all accounts, Josi is doing well. He's expected to be in training camp at the end of the month. Well, actually, like next week now. He's also already been named to the preliminary roster for Switzerland in the Winter Olympics. Now, like, I think that could be simply just a formality, right? Like, he's quite clearly like the GOAT of Switzerland hockey, but I think they fully expect the Predators captain to be well enough to play in February. So if they're expected to be there, he's expected to be in training camp. It's enough for me to buy in. We talked about a lot of ADPs that we weren't really in love with, and Josi's an ADP that I absolutely love at 56.8. Everything basically went wrong for Josi last season. First, he missed 29 games with a concussion. His offensive output plummeted, but his current ADP is just a drastic overreaction to all of that. He's being drafted as the number 11 fantasy defenseman overall in the 6th round, despite ranking 2nd among defensemen in goals, 5th in assists, 4th in points, and 1st in shots on goal over the last 4 seasons. And that includes 46 missed games and a disappointing 2025 season. Just an absolute dog. In reality, the season was only disappointing for like Josi's standards. He was actually on pace, just going to blow you away, on pace for a nearly identical season to Josh Morrissey, who is currently going 16 spots before Josi. So the Predators, they were the 2nd lowest team in the NHL, lowest scoring team, in the NHL last year. So even a minor improvement this year would be huge. Plus, we already talked about it in previous episodes. That was an offense that started to get it together a little bit more towards the end of the season. So I don't think it's outlandish at all to suggest that Josi could be back to a point per game player this season. But the fact that he was like bad last year, it was basically playing the exact same as Josh Morrissey, is enough for me to 100% of the time pull the trigger on him at ADP 56.8. D, your value is also in our top 10. You got Shea Theodore of the Vegas Golden Knights. Take it away.
Yeah, and I actually just gave up some future draft value in a keeper league for Josi, so I'm hoping Dr. Brock is spot on with that diagnosis. But I'm going to talk about Shea Theodore, ADP of 64.4. I had him as my value last year at an ADP of 111, and I still don't think he's going early enough. I really think all he needs to do to return value on this ADP is stay healthy. He's failed the top 70 games in each of the last 3 seasons. He was in the midst of putting together a real fantasy league winning campaign last year before he fractured his wrist at the Four Nations Faceoff. Missed 14 games. Despite that, still managed to finish 10th in scoring among defensemen, posting a career-high 57 points across just 67 games, and he's being drafted as the 14th D-man off the board. Decline in shot volume for a second consecutive seasons means he might not be a lock for double-digit goals anymore, but he's become an elite source of assists. He was an integral piece of a Golden Knights power play that finished with the league's 2nd-best conversion rate last year. And of course, not expecting them to be any less threatening with the man advantage this season with the addition of Mitch Marner. Pietrangelo, obviously not expected to be back anytime soon, if ever. Creates extra opportunities for Theodore at 5v5 and makes him even more of a lock to hold down that spot on the top power play unit. Makes him a really good bet to improve on the already impressive 70-point pace he flashed a year ago. Adabusa Marner, obviously an elite playmaker, also a really good two-way player, could afford him some more shooting opportunities at 5v5 as well as on the power play. So I really do think this is a guy who has the upside to contend with the likes of Hughes and Bouchard for the title of best fantasy defenseman not named Cale Makar. I think he's that good. He's got a clean bill of health coming into the preseason. Any concerns about him being injury prone are more than baked into this ADP. So I'll take all the Shea stocks I can get this preseason.
I think like more than anything too, or at least equal to anything, is the fact that like he's probably going to play more at 5v5 too. Like he's locked into PP1, but he could see 4 years ago we saw him play north of 23 minutes. This isn't a blue line that's quite as deep as it had been in years past. Obviously, when you take out somebody like Pietrangelo, someone's going to have to eat a lot of minutes there. And I think Theodore could be a guy that like you talked about it with Bouchard that could see a lot more minutes still. Like he could be a guy that goes out there this year and plays 24, 25 minutes, and I wouldn't be shocked at all. And if that's the case, I mean, he just goes off. So absolutely adore the pick. Beebs, who is your defenseman value. Big time friend of the show last year.
Big time friend of the show. Before I go there, I just want to say shout out D for bringing up the Pietrangelo news. I feel like that's not really being talked about very much, and it's definitely going to be a factor for the upcoming season. So something to jump on there. But I mentioned it. I'm going to bring up a friend of the show, a pal of the show. It's Jackson Lacombe out in Anaheim. I'm sure you've heard us talk about him before if you have listened to the podcast. Currently going at 113.5 ADP. This is after a 14-goal, 43-point season last year. Yeah, you might say that's not that sexy of a season, but Lacombe realistically didn't turn it on last year until December 1st of 2024. He had 1 goal and a 5-shot on goal performance against Ottawa, and then he decided to become a top 10 ranked defenseman from there on out. In the final 59 games of the season, we watched the 24-year-old ranked 4th among defensemen in goals with 12, 13th in points with 39, and 23rd in shots on goal. That's pretty good considering he decided to kind of take the last 8 games of the season off, not putting up a point for the final 8 games. But what really impresses me from Lacombe is what he did in that stretch from January 25th to April 1st. He had a 26-game stretch. We were all over it last year on the show telling you to pick him up. In those 26 games, he had 23 points, 6 goals, 17 assists, 40 shots on goal. That just shows kind of what Lacombe is capable of. I do not expect anywhere close to those numbers this season, but the elite goal scoring ability is something that you really can't find at this part of the draft. So it makes him almost a sleeper and value pick right here. With Brock kind of mentioned with Yossi, they were just brutal at scoring. Well, so was Anaheim last year. Anaheim ranked 30th in the NHL in goals for. They're 32nd in the NHL in power play. And if they're going to improve, it's going to have to come through Lacombe. We kind of saw them get to 11.8% power play last year with Lacombe providing 9 power play points. So if he can take that step forward, I don't really see anyone else threatening that power play 1 spot. Maybe Pavel Mintyuk. I'm not even going to try to say the name, but Mintyuk. We'll go there. Maybe him. Yeah, there we go. I should have probably looked it up before we tried to say it. Maybe him, but realistically, Lacombe's the guy. He shoots at an elite rate. I was talking earlier in the show how I like players who have that ability to get to 200 shots because that means usually they can flirt with 20 goals. And we saw last year Lacombe have 14 on 134 shots. If he can continue realistically just the rate he was showing for 75% of last year, we could see him flirt with that 180 to 200 shots and do a lot better. I really like Lacombe here. I think if you fail to get a top end D-man and have to make a panic play, he's one you can try to do to fill some of those other categories. Not a guarantee to hit, but he has all the things we love to see that give him that potential. Also, he has a little bit of ice time to give after only averaging close to lower 20s last year. So there's a lot of room for improvement while we kind of love the floor here. So I think one of us had to take Jackson Lacombe at some point in the show, and I was going to do it here. So I wanted to do him in breakout, but we're going to do him in value. So let's go.
Yeah, I think we talked about him like every episode from December on last year.
Deservedly so.
In the second half of last year, he averaged over 24 minutes a night. I don't think there's any reason to suggest he's going to see anything less than that this year. I don't think Pavel Mintyuk poses any threat to him on power play 1. I think that's his show now. I don't think that there's really anything to suggest that he's going to be a bad play this year. D, I believe in our league of record, a big money league last year, I had Rowinski, Theodore, and Jackson Lacombe. And that was good. I still didn't win the league, though. Fantasy hockey is a son of a bitch. Thanks for watching this video. If you want more great fantasy hockey and betting content from myself, Carter Hutton, Matthew Barnaby, and the rest of the DFO analysts, make sure you subscribe to the DFO Fantasy and Betting YouTube channel today and never miss a minute.